Hello.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning. Sorry, it's taking a minute or two for the counselor to come in. So we're just waiting. Bear with me.
Dr. Bhardwaj, how are you? Nice to see you after so long. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know. Rest. Let me open everybody.
Dr. Bhardwaj, I was addressing him.
And Dr. Bhadwaj.
Hello.
Yeah, here he is.
Just hello. Hello.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me, Dr. Pradeep?
Yes, I can. How are you?
I can hear you. It was on mute, you see, at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nice
Hello,
to see you.
everybody. Hello, Harry.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Hello,
Can everybody
Kamlesh.
open up their
Hello, good. Yeah.
speakers, please? Indrajit ji, you are on mute.
Hello, Dr. Pradeep.
Hi, how are you, Kamalji?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
We are doing well, all working from home. I haven't left home in 3 months.
Yeah, same here.
The ambassador joined.
That's good.
Good evening, sir. Professor Bhardwaj.
Hello, good evening, Gaurchamji. Good evening.
Sat Sri Akal, Hari ji.
Sasika, hi, how are you? How's everybody? I believe the Council General is here. Let me see.
सत श्री अकाल जी
Sasika, sir, how are you?
क्या हाल है ਤੁਹਾਡਾ
Good. So I believe I'm just waiting for Professor Singh. That's all I'm waiting for. Is there. I'm just waiting for Dr. Sharanjit Singh. That's it.
Okay.
He's having some trouble connecting or something. So the time we are waiting for Sharanjit Singh, let's start it. If you allow me, Mr. Sandeep ji.
Namaste Hariji, are we set?
Yeah, we are set. So we
Okay.
just waiting for one Professor Sharanjit ji, but till the time he connects, let me start it and then we'll talk about it. Okay. Let me welcome you all today on the webinar, which we are having for the first time this year on the topic of augmenting US-India relations in healthcare under this COVID challenge. Today, we are living in a very, very unprecedented time, and the entire world is facing the corona pandemic. Now, firstly, our prayers are with the families currently dealing with COVID crisis, particularly those who have lost their loved ones. I'll thank you all for joining this webinar today, and I will be introducing each and every individual speaker, but I'll just take the name, they can introduce themselves. But before that, I'll pass myself. I'll keep my words to rest before I give this to the Council General to please declare this webinar open. Thank you.
Okay. Namaskar. Good morning, good evening to all the participants in the webinar. I was not aware that there is a formal inauguration of the webinar, but it's good because I think webinars and Zoom conferences and WebEx conferences are now the new normal, and it is high time that we start reconditioning our lives to this new format. So I'm very happy to be here with such a distinguished panel. And I first want to congratulate our friend Harry Panesar for bringing together this panel. And he has been working in the healthcare sector for several years now, and he has deep knowledge and connections both here in the United States and back home in India. And it is not surprising that he has decided to hold this seminar or organize this seminar on Indo-US cooperation and collaboration in healthcare, particularly in the context of the COVID challenge. I will come back and say a few words, but to set the ball rolling, I am very happy to inaugurate this webinar, and I hand over to Harry Panesar once again.
Thank you, sir. Now, the way I will like to introduce everybody is I'll just speak their names. They will be accepting to be here, and then we go for questions. I'll introduce to you Mr. T. Srinivas, who is the Chief Financial Officer of Bharat Biotech, the very company which is coming up with COVID vaccine, and probably he'll introduce more so as we talk to him. Every individual, I'll be requesting them to give their views on COVID and how they are taking on either by the research or by their products, how they are helping, or by their knowledge, how they are helping people during COVID crisis. Then we have with us, I believe we are missing a gentleman from Bharat Biotech because of some important task, Mr. Sai Prasad. So Mr. Srinivas would answer the questions related to him. Then we have gentleman, Mr. Roop Singh, the Chief Business Officer of Birlasoft. And they are working in the field of software development and for pharmaceuticals and healthcare industry. We have with us Mr. Vivek. And Mr. Vivek is my old colleague from GlaxoSmithKline. And he is an ex-director of Organization of Pharmaceutical Producers of India. We have with us Professor Charles, if he's there, Ponza, and he is from Harvard University. Then we have Mr. Nanda. You can see Nanda, but basically this is Mr. Shri Nivas, I believe. Okay. Then we have with us Kamaljeet Kaur Chopra, who is the chairperson of Punjab University Pharmaceutical Unit. Samrat Dani, who is vice president with Fulton Bank here in US. Mr. Talak Bhardwaj, who is the vice chancellor at Baddi University, long time in Punjab University, pharmaceutical sciences, lot of researches and package under his pocket. And then we have Dr. Pradeep Gupta, who is an eminent scientist and is today a professor at U Sciences, Pennsylvania. We are waiting for Dr. Singh, he's not here. Inderjeet Singh Saluja, I believe people who read the newspapers, especially the Indian Panorama, he's the gentleman who brought this newspaper, and he's a very noted media personality. I believe I've covered everybody, or I'm missing somebody here.
We also have Mr. D.P. Mishra, Consul Trade.
Okay, here it is. Hi, Mishra ji. Mishra ji is the commercial counsel at Indian Consulate, and he's the man we are always connected to and disturbing him a lot 24/7 for anything Indians need. So I'll now request Mr. Srinivas to please address us as to how is the COVID-19 vaccine coming up, how the thing started, and where are they as of now? Over to you. Hello? Mr. Srinivas, can you hear me? Nanda?
Yeah, let me check 1 second, please.
Okay. By the time I'll take the second speaker. Roop, would you please let the group know as to what are the initiatives Birlasoft is taking under the COVID challenge?
Oh, thank you, Harry, and thank you for the invitation. And it's great to be here as part of this, this panel to have this discussion. So, Birlasoft, just to give you a bit of context, Birlasoft is part of the larger Birla Group, which is a CK Birla Group. We have about 12 to 13 group companies within this, and we also manage non-profit hospitals, which are owned by CK Birla Group, if you will. So this gives us some insight into the current pandemic more at first hand, if you will. Now, from what Birlasoft, which is part of the portfolio companies we are focused on, is working with a number of healthcare firms in the US to enable rapid facilitation of the treatment potential that can come to the market. Now, if I give you some context in this, we are very good at, humans are generally very good at pattern recognition, right? But, the augmentation with the AI and machine learning that can help us go through massive amounts of data to find the variant correlations in that data is where I think the benefit actually can be brought to the organizations. Now, today itself, there are computer algorithms that are actually searching for generic morbidity, if you will, geographic, age, gender, race patterns that can really explain the range of effects from either asymptomatic to death that the SARS-CoV-2 virus has on people. Now, we've done a lot of work with some pharmaceutical companies in US in the area specifically related to pharmacovigilance, right? Or PV as we call it. In the current situation, the analysis of PV safety data coming out of clinical trials is critical to understanding, which vaccine candidates are looking to be safe and effective. And more importantly, can we find the promising candidates in the vaccines quickly and likely abandon, failures so we can allocate resources more appropriately, if you will. And if you look at the traditional PV approach in terms of data analysis, it's highly labor intensive and it's prone to a lot of errors, right? Because of the massive data analysis improvements that are required, if you will, or requirements that are in place in general. This is often this is all too often results in missed safety signals, very high cost labor arbitrage, and increased risk of regulatory non-compliance. The problem of data explosion worsens when you consider that we're dealing with biopharmaceutical operations that are spread global, right? And clinical safety data that may be coming in multiple languages, in various formats, from multiple sources. And that's the challenge that is being faced by organizations today. Now, at Birlasoft, having the access to the hospital group, having access to our clients, working with our clients, we have invested in a number of solutions, whether it's PV tools or platforms that are powered with cognitive or artificial intelligence, which has a capacity to deliver insights from the data-based evidence coming out of clinical trials to help us very rapidly understand which drug or vaccines candidates can double down on because they hold a promise to be effective. And more importantly, regulatory and effective, right? And where we should stop investing our time and energy where we're not getting those results. Now, the cognitive tools or solutions do not remove humans from the process. That's a given, and nor should they. Rather, they do the work that we are supposed not to be good at, like shifting through massive amounts of data, and really to find meaningful bits and correlations and enable the human subject matter experts to really provide those judgment and creative problem solving capabilities, right? So it's really an augmentation of what they're doing today. To give you some specific effectiveness of this approach that we have found with some of the activities that we're doing, we've seen about 87% efficiency gains over the manual safety data review efforts, right? And that is a huge amount, 87% efficiency gains from the data review efforts. The experts that we were actually paying a vast amount of money, who are spending majority of their time shifting to data, are now actually spending that time analyzing highly valuable PV data that can be distilled to meaningful level. We are predicting about 99% accuracy, especially where data is not too relevant, and it's effectively separating the wheat from the chaff when it comes to what we as humans can actually lay our eye on. This is leading to significantly faster, more accurate, and deeper insights, which actually will result in the ability to bring safer drugs and vaccines to the public faster and less expensively. So I'll leave it to that, right? That's our focus area. That is what we are working on with our clients and bringing that experience to the market, if you will, from a technology perspective. So Harry, over back to you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving what's latest in Birlasoft. I'll now request Vivek to let us know as to what is the role of Organization of Pharmaceutical Producers of India in getting the new pharmaceutical products, research, and marketability of these kind of researches.
Thank you so much, Harry. I think it's very nice that we organize this webinar on the topic of the augmenting US-India relationship in terms of pharma trade. It's good. I think I'm very glad to be a part of the eminent panel. Salman, may I request you to put on my slides? Next. Yeah, India-US partnership consolidating over the years, and COVID-19 pandemic has further strengthened through supply of hydroxychloroquine and other APIs. In fact, all of us are aware that always adversity offers a learning opportunity. To me, the size of the opportunity is very large, and it is important that we need to develop appropriate skills to seize this. One of the important takeaway from this adversity, unprecedented adversity, is the power of collaboration. At this backdrop, let us try to understand the pharma sectoral view from India and US. Indian pharma is around $55 billion industry, created 2.7 million jobs, and contributed 10 billion trade surplus to the Indian GDP. Exports have been contributing to around 13.7 billion, while import has been less than 2 billion for the period of April 19 to 2020. We have almost around 3,000 pharma companies with 10,500 manufacturing units, and we have close to 600 US FDA approved plants, second largest only after US. If you look at the cost of production, we are approximately 33% lower than what you get in US. And India accounts for almost around 40% of US generic drug supply. We are that much cost effective. India has been regarded as very consistent, reliable, and authentic for drug supply. And that's why we are known to be the pharmacy of the world. Looking at US biopharmaceutical, in fact, is the largest in the world, a leader, market leader. It generates a huge economic value in terms of job creation, R&D. In fact, most of the US pharmaceutical companies contribute 20% of their sales turnover in R&D investment, and of course, the finished formulations and the medication. However, the Q1 2020, we saw disruption of many industries' supply chain. Pharmaceutical companies cannot be exception, with the manufacturing and distribution of key medicines getting severely impacted due to variable availability of APIs. Next slide, Salma. Yeah. Now, if you look at the import dependence, India and China has been responsible to make the global medicine supply for a quite long time. In fact, 31% of world's API manufacturing plants come from India and China. However, both the regions entered into extended period of lockdown in bid to flatten the COVID curve. Besides factory closures, temporary export restrictions imposed by India also created a perceptible drop in medicine production in Western world. As a result, demand for medicines has skyrocketed, not only in terms of consumer space, but also in terms of R&D circles. Consequently, clinical trials and long-term studies for the drugs which used for the chronic diseases like CNS, rare diseases, diabetes, hypertension, pause temporarily until the APIs are made available once again. Next. Finally, in light of supply chain and raw material setback, pharmaceutical companies and researchers finding new ways to continue with the clinical trial and manufacturing related activities. India can continue in such a scenario to export good quality, more cost-effective generics from US FDA approved manufacturing plants which are of the state-of-art technology. In fact, the US FDA's decision to implement additional alternative inspection tools and approaches while postponing domestic and foreign routine surveillance methods and inspections in wake of COVID-19 pandemic has augured extremely well for the Indian pharma exports. We can partner with innovators. We have a couple of examples like Serum Institute of India has partnered with 2 companies in US for the development of vaccine for COVID-19. Gilead is another example which has signed voluntary license with 4 Indian companies on remdesivir to cater to 127 countries. They have done, in fact, similar thing what they did in the past with Sovaldi, Sofosbuvir, for 6 Indian companies were signed for 91 countries. And Indian traditional medicine, like traditional Chinese medicine, could be another area. So these are the views on how do we augment. Let me now come to the government support. Next slide. Now, what support? Now, if you really see the contribution of API to the overall cost of the finished formulation is almost around 40 to 45%. In fact, in some certain cases, it can go to also around 70 to 80%. We have been depending on China for import. Import from China was 1% in 1991, which has gone to 70% in 2018. The competitive pricing, the tax and labor-related reforms, manufacturing incentives, state-driven subsidies offered in China to promote exports were responsible for all the import from China. So, Government of India should do immediately, few steps immediately should be taken for revival of Indian API industry with a holistic and a conducive ecosystem. In fact, 2 days back, there was a notification from Government of India giving production link incentive scheme to promote pharma export for medical devices. Similar things should be done for the API. Faster and conducive regulatory environment, investment in infrastructure like special economic zones, API parks, clusters, and plug and play system for the infrastructural support, better finance and cost structure, lowering cost of land, getting it faster, electricity, water, solvent extraction are the other areas which could contribute, boost R&D investment, and like in US, you have got very strong industry academia relationship Same partnership could be thought of in India, support the fermentation industry, incentivize and provide production subsidy, and encourage and attract foreign investment and collaboration. This could be the support which we seek from the government immediately. Next slide. Our future growth will depend upon our ability to ensure uninterrupted supply of quality medicine and to upscale manufacturing to meet the emergency situation. Government needs to promote domestic manufacturing for identify critical APIs, drug intermediates, key starting materials for almost around 53 APIs for which India currently depends on China. This in turn will help Indian AP manufacturer to compete with China, likely to attract those companies which would like to exit China and to come and invest in India. Let me now come next slide. Next slide, Salman. Let me come to the next slide, Salman.
Salman, can you hear us?
Next slide, Salman.
Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
Salman, next slide. Yeah, let me come to the way forward. I will try to divide this in three areas: trade, technology, and research. India and US partnership should assume strategic importance going forward, with COVID-19 pandemic presenting such an opportunity. As you know, that government across the border would take measures to bolster economy, and naturally there will be compulsion to curtail expenditure across the categories, including healthcare. Such a situation, the cost-effective drug from India could be a very good opportunity for Indo-US consolidation of support, and also for the areas of API segment which are visible, and more companies would like to de-risk their own reliance on China. In that respect, industry has a long road ahead in terms of R&D, in terms of testing, in terms of clinical trial, and even the potential development for vaccine. Next slide. Coming to technology, the medical community is now shifting to perform virtual trials in some cases where doctors and researchers communicate and collaborate with patients remotely. Other innovations being spearheaded by early stage startups looking to transform existing processes into technology-assisted agile methods. Medidata, a case in point, a software as a service company conducting 3-year-long virtual study for close to around 15,000 patients. Going forward, the COVID-19 pandemic could motivate a significant chunk of research community to conduct similar virtual trials and improve capacity and hit the market faster. The potential to continue embracing domestic production and technology-assisted trials rely on startup ability to secure funding, the mentoring, the hand-holding, and of course the partnership and future acquisition opportunities. I come to my last slide. Research. Research is the hallmark, is a lifeline for the pharmaceutical industry. So research process outsourcing. In fact, Tata sponsored Advinus. Besides outsourcing clinical research in terms of manufacturing services, focus on relocating business of those companies which are now skeptical of doing business with China. Also, it's important that we must respect US, as a US big company would like to come back and contribute, make America great again. Similarly, in India, PM Modi has announced, self-reliant Atma Nirbhar scheme, but not definitely at a cost of being inward. So we have to embrace global economy, but also to compete. As I said earlier, the size of the opportunity is large. We need to develop those skills and the government support to seize it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Vivek, sorry for the interruptions in between. I'm still waiting for some to join, but then here I will request Professor Charles from Harvard University. How is the university facing the COVID-19, and how are you dealing with the education of your students and their internships and their researches? Over to you.
And I'm gonna share my screen. I can. Hold on for 1 second. And what I want to do is I want to allow, hold on for 1 second more. Share computer sound. Okay, very good. Thank you so much for having me. I think this is a very important meeting, and I'm going to change the tenor of this discussion and speak to you about education, which I think is a really important topic, especially in situations in which things like COVID changed the whole landscape of medicine. And I'll give you a little bit of understanding of how we have used medical simulation as a means to augment education during this very complicated time. As an expert in medical simulation, I was asked to discuss how medical simulation can be leveraged to address some of the challenges in the setting of an event like the coronavirus pandemic. And we are predicting that there'll be other pandemics and other issues that will need to be addressed similarly. However, before I jump into the coronavirus, my talk about coronavirus, how we dealt with it, I'd like to just give you a little bit of background as to where I come from and what we do. I'm an emergency physician from the Brigham and Women's Hospital, which is in Boston, right on the campus of Harvard Medical School. I'm an associate professor of Harvard Medical School. And our hospital is the picture on the top. That's just a piece of our hospital. We're actually a very large hospital, 800-bed academic medical center. And our mission is not only to give quality care, but it's also to provide really high impact research, as well as to educate the next generation of caregivers. And that's basically what I've been doing for the last 25 years at Harvard, is to sort of develop strategies to improve the care and improve the education so that we can continue to provide the level of care that we hope to provide. But I want to give you some idea of medical simulation. And for those of you who don't know medical simulation, it's basically the use of a device or series of devices to provide education in a way that is more practical and engaging, and uses the theories of adult learning in order to provide education. And there are different ways of providing education through simulation. And the first, sorry about that. The first is, let me just get back to the prior slide. The first is using screen-based simulation. Basically, instead of using lecture-based education, and instead of using bedside education, both of which I think will not be lost in the use of simulation, I think you can use other technologies to provide education. And the first over here is screen-based education, where you can use computer-based learning, and we're getting more into the virtual reality and augmented reality type of learning to provide opportunities to learn for our students and for our trainees, not just for students, but for trainees. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, we're using simulation more and more to maintain the proficiency and expertise of our providers. We actually use what we used to call virtual reality simulators, where you can actually interact using the user interfaces that you would generally use in a real clinical situation, but with digital technology be able to do procedures not on patients, but on software that gives you the same feel and the same approach and same decision-making approaches that one would use if doing it on a real patient, if doing a procedure. And in this case, This is a patient, this is a clinician doing a hysteroscopy, not on a patient, not on a female patient, but on a computerized, digitized software that allows him or her to provide the same type of care and the same type of practice the one would get in doing it in a real patient. We use simulation to teach procedures. Now, generally, when I was a student, I used to learn by actually doing it on a real patient. And what we've noticed is that with simulation, you can actually give people the opportunity to provide the care and to practice on a simulator as opposed to practicing on a real patient. Now, there's always going to be the first time that somebody does something on a real patient. I think that's a really important tool to education. But if I were being the person that had a trainee doing a procedure, I would much prefer them doing a procedure on a simulator first before I was the first time they used an implement. Over here, we can use, and that's sort of a funny slide, we can use both simulators and real people to to do a hybrid of using simulation. We use standardized patients to help with things like, how do you manage a psychiatric patient? How do you manage the getting a history and physical examination before you actually have to do it on a real patient? And what we're seeing a lot on the slide to the left is using simulation in a team-based manner, where you're taking care of a simulator amongst a team, and this is an interprofessional team, so that not only can you learn how to do particular procedures on a patient, but you can learn how to communicate with your fellow clinicians so the patient gets the best care. And personally, I think that is one of the most important ways of using simulation. And my last slide, if I can get it to work, and hopefully I can get it to work, is a simulation that we do at my lab, where I want you to see that it can be very, very.
This is actually coming in, so I'm going to have to tie this up because
it is running.
This is actually coming.
Yeah.
Okay, good. No, I'm going to tie it.
Connecting back.
Okay. We can clamp. We need 2 clamps.
And now make more room. Another clamp, please.
Yep. We can tie.
Another clamp.
John, how is it bleeding there? Because the pressure is slowly dropping.
No, tie first.
John, pressure is slowly bleeding.
We're getting some. We got some bleeding going down here.
Can you pack it then?
Yep.
Give me. Let's just.
Okay, we have to start hanging the blood.
Okay.
Maureen, if you need anything to. John, can you pack it?
Yeah, we're packing now distally. I'm going to I'm going to get proximal control. Do you have any vascular clamps?
Okay, I'm going to get any left.
Because there's another vessel.
I'm going to stop it here and just explain what's going on. This is a operating room that's in my lab, Strata Center. We've built an operating room, and these are 2 attending level surgeons, 2 attending level anesthesiologists, a scrub nurse, and a circulating nurse, who are given a case in which they need to excise a tumor, resect a tumor from a patient. And during the case, we actually make it so that the patient begins to bleed. The surgeon, whether he did it or not, is going to cause an injury to the femoral artery. And then we start the bleeding, we change the physiology so that very quickly they're responding to a situation that they might have to care for in the real operating room. And this is not necessarily about the technique of how to take care of the patient's injury, but it's about how do they mitigate the consequences of the complication through communication. And I show this to you not to give you an idea, or not to promote interprofessional education, which I think is a very important part of simulation, but really to show you the fidelity that one can get using devices and various other technologies, so that one can teach in a way that was never able to be taught unless you were teaching it on a real patient. And what's important in this regard is that if I wanted to teach them how to manage a hemorrhagic complication in the operating room, the last place I would take them is the operating room, because these are rare events or uncommon events that are unpredictable, but I can do this every time they're in my simulation lab. So I wanted to give you some background in how simulation works, and I hope that was helpful to you. But during the COVID crisis, the COVID-19 response, academic medical centers understandably turned their attention to the management of patients with coronavirus. That was the primary objective. We closed many parts of the hospital. We stopped doing routine procedures. We stopped having our clinics because of the infectivity of the virus. And in doing so, many clinicians got an opportunity to take care of some very sick patients. But there was a cohort of clinicians, and many clinicians, more than were taking care of patients, that did not have the opportunity to be taking care of patients because the routine procedures they typically did, the teaching that was typically offered to them was just not offered during this pandemic. But due to these limitations, we needed to find surrogates for teaching clinicians and teaching trainees and having clinicians practice the skills that they are supposed to have. But not only was it used for teaching, which I think was a very, very important use of medical simulation to maintain the quality and actually just doing the teaching. We also used it to implement and to develop strategies to take care of this special group of patients. And one example I'll give you was that we had a problem that because of the aerosolization and the viral infectivity that was increased in many procedures, airway management became a very difficult thing or difficult procedure to implement in a safe way. And we used the simulation lab and our mannequins and our simulators to allow clinicians to build a tent, a hood with negative pressure from inside the hood that allowed the clinicians to actually manage the airway, intubate, put tubes into the airway that ultimately did it in a way that was safe, effective, and ultimately decreased the infectivity of the procedure itself. Ultimately, the fact of using simulation as a means to test and to iteratively change the process sped up the process from which could have taken weeks to do to taking literally 1 day to develop this product. And it was really very, very satisfying to be able to use medical simulation as a means of creating solutions to problems that came up ultimately very, very unexpectedly. As you can see, it's a valuable tool for simulation. It's a valuable tool for education. It's a valuable tool for process improvement. And there are many ways that we use simulation in the institution, in the hospital, to identify latent safety threats that you wouldn't identify until a patient potentially could be hurt by a particular problem in the hospital. But it also can be used for assessment of clinicians. It also can be used for research. We've done research that's been published in the New England Journal of Medicine, looking at various procedures that we could not study in the real clinical environment. So in order for groups to use simulation, we're seeing simulation being used all over the world. I have a project right now in China. I developed a simulation center in Chennai, India. You've got to use simulation, not just for education, not just for assessment, but for all of the things that I've spoken about in order to get your return on investment. And I hope I've been able to give you an idea of how simulation has been used in a situation like the COVID virus pandemic. And hopefully we can work with various folks in India to promote the use of simulation. Now, I know that simulation is used in India, but it is clearly not used to the level that we're doing it, that we're using simulation in the United States. And what I want to do is promote simulation to the level of fidelity that one gets in the video that I showed you, so that this can be used and accepted by not only trainees, but by real clinicians who are working day to day, taking care of real patients. And thank you very, very much for having me at this conference. And I will stop my sharing at this point.
Thank you.
Yeah, excuse me, Haripaji. Srinivas has been disconnected. Can you please, let him in? He is one of the speaker.
Okay, Salman, can you take care of it, please? Okay, I'm still, two of the individuals are trying. I don't know how they are unable to register. They are unable to join the webinar. One is Dr. Chatterjee from John Hopkins, and the second gentleman is Mr. Singh from NIPER. Whenever they join, we'll open for them. But then now I'll request Professor Gupta to please address how the university research and your faculty is helping under this COVID crisis.
Sure. Thank you, Hari. It's nice to be here. And as most of you know, the universities have gone into a lockdown starting mid-March. So we had to finish our semester online, which means a lot of changes were made in terms of teaching format, especially the lab courses. But the university provided a lot of support, so we were able to get everything. It seems like that's going to be the way forward as well. So I wanted to update you on a couple of things that
there's some voice coming.
Yeah.
Everyone should be on mute that's not speaking.
Yeah. So anyway, so a couple of things that we are doing at our end in my lab. One is that my lab recently filed a patent on treatment of COVID, the selective hypoxia in COVID that we have seen in many patients, and we are starting a clinical trial in collaboration with an area hospital to see if this can be addressed. And we have also started a project to see if a cascade of blood coagulation that appears to happen in many patients, does it have a direct connection with the viral proteins or the RNA, or is it mediated through the regular cascade of inflammation and so on? So those are a couple of things that we are doing in our lab to address this. Now, the thing that I want to spend a little bit more time is on academia industry collaboration, because that's an area that we have talked about a lot, especially, because it has no boundaries. You can easily have a university in US, collaborating with an industry in India, or vice versa. So it's a great opportunity. But I think what is normally not talked about is the exact mode in which it can be done, how it can be done precisely. So, and I would like to bring to your attention a model that the University of Pennsylvania has used to make this happen. They've been one of the most successful institutions in the world to have academic industry collaboration. And they have recognized the fact that money is a central issue, that when you're talking about collaboration, funding becomes a major issue. So the model that they have works by identifying areas where faculty innovations are useful. And then instead of directly connecting the faculty with industry, what they do is they help them set up a company within or outside of the university, of course, with a stake in the company, and then help that company, which is owned by the faculty and the university jointly, to connect with larger companies out there. So that becomes a formal mode of bringing in collaboration that not only has a scientific component, but it also has a financial component with positive outcomes for everyone. So, whenever someone on this forum has time, you can visit the University of Pennsylvania websites and you can look at entrepreneurship, how they foster this model. And I think there may be other universities, including Harvard, and Dr. Pasno can say more about it. They may be doing it as well. But I think it's about time that we move from the concept or the idea of academic industry collaboration to the next level, where we begin to define precise models of doing this. Because, theory is one thing, but grinding it down to practice is what is needed. And I think COVID-19 situation can be better served if there is a good collaboration between industry and academia. So I'll leave it at that because of time constraints, and I can come back if needed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gupta. It was nice hearing about whatever the changes and the new research is happening in United States, and especially with the Indian faculty. I'll now request Mr. Tilak Bhardwaj to please address us and let us know how the Buddy University is helping fight COVID-19 with more than 300 manufacturing bases now with their faculties there or their facilities there, and many more are coming into Buddy area, as I was informed by some of the media individuals. Over to you, Dr. Bhardwaj.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers, specifically Mr. Harry Panesher, for the invitations to be with you today morning. As we all know, that India has already emerged as pharmaceutical competitor. 1/3 of the world's medicines are being formulated, including the formulations or maybe the bulk drug APIs are from India. And I'm happy to say that 1/3 of those drugs are being produced in our neighborhood, Buddy, which is around 50 kilometers from Chandigarh. So Buddy is the largest Asia's industrial hub and the mainly pertaining to the pharma industry, Most of the companies, I think there are more than 300 companies which are manufacturing pharmaceuticals, drugs, formulations, bulk drugs in India. And in addition, I think India has around 75 FDA approved companies also. So these are the two areas where India can, again, because right now at present, India is dependent for its API or some intermediate compounds, active pharmaceutical ingredients, or maybe other formulations also, or the bulk drug also, dependent on the China. So if we can have some companies, their base shifted from China to India, then the supply chain for these industry will continue. In addition, I would also like to say that USA can encourage their companies to shift or to start their production, to start the bulk drugs or have their bases in India. Because what are the reasons for that? The strength with respect to the pharmaceuticals in India pertains to, we have very well developed industry with strong manufacturing base, and the most important is the cost effectiveness. We can provide the drug maybe around 40 to 60% less cost as compared to what is being produced in USA. Then we have very established network of labs and research and development infrastructure also. We have highly trained pool of scientists and professionals, more than what is required otherwise. We can provide that number to the pharma industry. And then we have world-class quality products. Again, the quality has been being maintained as per FDA guidelines. Then also we have strong marketing and distribution network, very strong process development skills. On account of that, India has entered, you all know that the process patenting has given us the opportunity to come on the global scenario. Then potential ground for clinical trials. The clinical trials in India cost again around 40 to 60% less as compared to the rest of the world. And then the fast growing healthcare industry. And diversity, biodiversity also, and growing biotechnology industry. So all these areas are there, which are again our strength with respect to the pharmaceuticals. And if we have collaboration with US, Of course, we are not contributing, our contribution is not to that extent with respect to the NC, new chemical entities, new drugs. But if this one is started, then on account of the latest technology from US, and then the collaborations also, this area, the new chemical entities or research and development or drug discovery part will also be strengthened in India. That's my feeling. And simultaneously, the other part, other component which is going to be affected is our quality control department. All sophisticated instruments are being imported, either from US or others. So if this part is taken care of, those instruments which are sophisticated analytical instruments required for maintaining the quality of the drugs and pharmaceuticals, if they are also manufactured in India, they will be very, very cost effective. And then it will further boost our quality. So these are some of my suggestions. And secondly, India has always been providing service to the mankind, right from, you can see CIPLA, the 8 patients were given treatment for $1 pill by Dr. Yusuf Hamid. And the same is again repeated now. The words hydroxychloroquine, which is being supplied to US and rest of the world, is being manufactured in India and mostly in our neighborhood at Baddi. You will be again pleased to know that all those production chemists and the staff which is required for 24/7 production of hydroxychloroquine or the preventive medicines, they are staying on our campus in the Baddi University hostels. So that's sort of the service. We are committed to provide service to the mankind, and the cost effective for the generic drugs and others, as well as quality also, cannot be matched with the rest of the world. So India is committed to provide healthcare with respect to the generic drugs, with respect to the bulk drugs, and simultaneously the new drug development can also be taken up in collaboration with the United States of America. That's what I personally feel will further boost our relationship. Over back to Dr. Harry, Professor Harry Panesar, please.
Thank you, Bhadla sir. Still, they are trying to reach us, but then I'm trying to see how they can be connected. But by the time I connect with Mr. Chatterjee, I'll talk to the Punjab University chairperson, Chopra ji, if she can talk about the contribution of Punjab University to the pharmaceutical industry and how they are working under COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harry, for making me a part of this August panel. I represent here one of the topmost pharmacy schools of India, one of the oldest and topmost pharmacy schools of India. And we are a part of one of the very old and best institutions of India, Punjab University. And our institute, University Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, it made a very humble beginning in 44. And in last 76 years, it has grown to be a flag bearer institute in pharmaceutical education, mainly under the stewardship of a very renowned pharmaceutical chemist and pharmaceutical historian, Professor Harkishan Singh. We lost him about 2 months back, but he is credited with the discovery of a clinically successful skeletal muscle relaxant, candocuronium iodide, which was later renamed by WHO as rather chandonium iodide, and WHO renamed it as candocuronium iodide. And for that, he was conferred with the highest civilian honor, that is Padam Shri. So this is a rarest of the rare distinction that a teaching and a research department of the university gives a drug to the world. So we have a very rich legacy and we are continuing with that. And now we have transferred about 8 technologies to the industry, and out of which 5 products are there in the market. And 63 patents have been filed by our institute and 42 have been granted. And we have a very rich literary wealth also. And Government of India has recognized our institute as a national training center to train pharmacy professionals from all over the country. So these are the products in the market. And one of the products, this is thank God, this is again a plant-based drug. And this is for hemorrhoids and this is selling like hotcakes. And then we have another, this Darvi gel. This is a herbal formulation for leukorrhea. And plus then we have liposomal formulations for psoriasis, and we have an anti-aging formulation also. Recently that has also come to the market. So we have a very rich diaspora of alumni, and we have President of Milan, Mr. Rajiv Malik is our alumnus. And then we have many other CEOs and distinguished professors in universities. And many of them are chiefs of R&Ds of big pharmaceutical houses. So in this backdrop, what our think tank of our institute has decided that due to this COVID pandemic, we really want to showcase ancient wisdom of Ayurveda to the world. We are looking at it as a great opportunity. Number one, Government of India is really, really promoting Ayurveda. And secondly, China has been a leading exporter of crude medicinal plants. So Ayurveda, we all know that it's a time-tested way of healthy life, and a lot of, there is a plethora of herbs which are available, and they have really, really great potency to manage various kinds of crises, and even the present one. And our institute is involved since last 5 decades in active integration of Indian system of medicine with modern medicine. We have a very long association with Ayush and ICMR for supplying quality Ayurvedic formulations. And Government of India has recognized our institute to develop monographs. And we have developed 55 monographs which have been incorporated in Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia. So a very highly integrated and competent multidisciplinary drug discovery, development, and So all dimensions of drug discovery and development, they are present under one roof. And we have identified immunomodulators as our thrust area. And we have prepared the roadmap to support Ayurvedic industry also, because, you know, Ayurvedic industry has been really suffering. It has not been able to make it because of few limitations. Number one, lack of modernization of manufacturing processes of herbal formulations. And then there is a paucity of raw material. And then there are no quality controls or standardization procedures for raw products or the finished products. And then there is a lack of scientific support to give rationale to the polyherbal formulations also. So what we have decided, we have the standardization parameters well in place because we have developed so many monographs. So we will be going ahead with these, and then we will be helping the industry to design safe, stable, QBD-enabled, bioavailable formulations of phytochemicals. whether single plant extracts or polyherbal extracts. And then we can go for the identification of molecular targets, bioactivity elucidation, and then toxicity evaluation also. So we are ready with the proposal to be submitted to Ayush, and at the same time, we are seeking collaborations from all over the world. So that's what we have decided. And as Professor Pradeep Gupta also said, that we are struggling to finish our semester through online teaching and how to conduct the exams and all that. So many issues are there, but in the meantime, we have just crystallized our research area to be taken up, and we are going to have a headway in this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm still awaiting both the speakers to connect, and they are with me on the cell and on my text. I'll now request, yes, somebody was saying something.
Harry, this is Srinivas. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah. Okay, good. Let me, Mishra ji, are you there? Okay.
Yes, I'm here. I wonder if you can hear me.
Okay. Sandeep ji is there. So I'll introduce Dr. Srinivas to let us know the kind of preparations they are doing.
Yeah. Dr. Harry, thank you for giving this opportunity. I am CFO of Bharat Biotech. Our research and development and manufacturing is based in Hyderabad, southern part of India. And we started our work in 1996. We are in a biotech hub. So we are the first pioneering industry to really come and start a unit here. And our organization is headed by Dr. Krishna Ella. He is alumni of University of Wisconsin-Madison. And we started our work with, first our vaccine is 1998, we have launched recombinant hepatitis B vaccine. And this is a WHO pre-qualified product now. And followed by the typhoid conjugate vaccine. We are the first in the world to start a conjugate vaccine targeted for children under 2 years. And our biggest product in the market, which is we have done with the help of Gates Foundation, is rotavirus vaccine. And in the row, in the Asian countries, we are the first. But in the row, we have invented this product in this side. And before us is the Merck Pharma back in US, and GSK Belgium, they launched their product. But we have our uniqueness in the dosage pattern. We give the smallest of the dose, and whereas the results are same. And we have challenged cost effectiveness of the product at $1. Way back in 2000, we promised to the Bill Gates when he has visited India, and we fulfilled our promise. We launched the product with a product this size and this expenditure at $1 a dose. And this is the WHO pre-qualified product. And this is followed by Japanese encephalitis. And we are largest supplier of oral polio vaccine to Government of India and UNICEF. And we are partially responsible to eradicate polio in India because we have supplied something like more than 1.5 billion doses. We have, in fact, always the pioneer in coming up. When the Zika was a year back, it was announced by the time we hold a patent on Zika. And our regulator, we are mostly in Indian government. In addition, most of our product we supply to UNICEF is WHO pre-qualified, and a sizable company, and we have 150 patents in our favor, and we have about 150 R&D scientists working with us in our campus. And other than UNICEF markets, we are currently supplying to 60 countries in developing world. This is the very brief. And we always follow the rule is that we always want to be inventor. We don't get into contract research or contract manufacturing because we strongly feel that our focus will lose on the new inventions when you get into contract manufacturing. So I will, since this is a coordination we are trying to work on, current what we are going through is particularly the COVID vaccine. We started our work on COVID vaccine in the month of March of this year, 2020. And we are working on multiple strains. The current one, what we are working on from the NIV Pune, and this is a human isolate. And currently, we are crossed our basic research stage because we have enough of knowledge and technology in handling such viruses. And we are currently going through animal trials. In-house animal trials. We also outsourced this to one of the animal trial companies, a research company in India. And we are going through that process. And what we see at this point of time, what the challenge we may really look into, which we feel that we will be able to go across is scaling up. So doing anything at a bench level is always gives great results. But actually when you scale up, we have to keep in two things in mind. One is whether this is commercially viable. I'm not talking really commercial means not for the company, but people can afford to buy this vaccine, because from the beginning, our target is that whether people can afford such vaccines. So that is our primary thing. That only can happen when you are able to really scale up in a such a way that we'll be able to really make this affordable to the people in developing world, because our focus on developing world currently. Definitely we look forward to do something in US. That's why I had a last trip to US somewhere in Feb to work with Merck Pharma back in New Jersey. And the second issue what we are seeing is many times when you develop such vaccines, particularly in the period where a lot of lockdowns, a lot of issues coming up is logistics. If we want to get something from US, and we always have the issues of logistics, which of late from maybe about a month's time, we have brought this to knowledge of Government of India, and they have given some instructions to the customs in India to clear the consignments faster. Otherwise, whatever work we do, if logistics are not coming in, the issue that is a bigger problem we faced for some time when we started back in March. And the other thing what we really see is Government of India is very proactive. They are in touch with us on regular basis, human clinical trials. So whether we can really have combined phase 1, phase 2 and goes to phase 3 directly, this is one way of looking at it. Government is very active, provided we are able to prove the safety of the vaccine, what we probably will be able to come out. And we hope once this is done, will be our intent within the premises where we are working with our team. Today at the time around 9:15 in India, still my scientists on the job, and they are working on the vaccine, because we are working on multiple candidates of vaccine. And what really we look for in US is basically what happens is we focus more on developing world. That is what is our theme from day one. But then nothing stops us entering US. The issue comes up is many times there are trials to be conducted in the country. As the Indian manufacturer, many times we face issues whether the really quality is there of the vaccine. Somewhere in the formulations, we have our own feeling is we need to really improve our name back in US. So really when you come out with this particular vaccine, we are hoping we should be very faster. We may look into probably, so because this being a pandemic and it is affecting a lot of people, we get certain concession and exemptions on conducting a local trial in US will be much faster to reach US markets. It's not a really, to tell you the entire philosophy of company, of course, we do money in our process, but it's not the only philosophy this company follows is just making money. We always see that whether we'll be helpful to mankind, because our lifespans are very, very small. Maybe we live for 60 years, 70 years. What we do to the mankind is our motive. Suppose we're able to really come to the stage, probably we'll approach the ambassador and take his help. And of course, we also, through WHO, approach FDA back in US. And of course, we have a partner, Wisconsin, sitting in US, and we have Thomas Jefferson back in US. So if we can able to get something fast in US, we can also definitely reach US markets. This all depends on our scale up. So we are very positive at this point of time, basing on experience, because most of our vaccines we produce in this campus is 100 million doses capacities we have. I don't say that we'll be able to attain really 100 million doses in day one, but the way what we are developing and we are able to scale up the technology available with us and the teams available with us, we'll definitely able to come with coronavirus with a large volumes. So we'll be able to cater wherever there is a need. We can't say that we'll be able to supply to all the world, but you know that Indian population itself is very big. Our birth cohort is almost 28 million children every year. So that if I'm targeting a 2-dose vaccine, so it may be a 52 million we need to get into place, which is, you know, that it's not impossible on day one. We need to really see where the need is there. We're able to go and really able to service them because we have a base, because some of our directors who are the promoters are US nationals, so that we strongly feel we come up with the expectations, particularly start with one of India, and we'll be able to do this. Our goal is to do it as fast as we can. It's been strictly monitored by ICMR from India, and probably we'll approach you for entering into US markets. We need to really find a way once we are ready with the vaccine. This is what I want to say. Thank you for the time. I'm sorry when initially I had to open some problem with my audio system. We're able to rectify it. And at the second session, I'm ready to open for any questions. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity.
Hi, thank you so much. We are still waiting for both the people. I don't know why everybody could join. They are unable to connect with the Zoom, Professor Chatterjee and Dr. Singh. So now, having talked about much of the things in the prospect of research, education in COVID, I'll call upon Mr. Samrat Dani, who is a gentleman with the finance and a banking sector, to elaborate as to what are the new avenues they are looking in for, and how this financial companies and bankers are helping this healthcare industry under COVID. Hello, Dani. Hello. I believe he's on mute or he's off. Anyway, by the time he comes, I'll pass it on to Inderjeet ji to throw light over COVID. Hello, can you hear me?
Harry, can you hear me? This is Sam.
Yes, Sam, where are you? Okay. Sorry, Inder, can I call Sam in first? Yes, Sam.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your time. It was interesting hearing all of you, and just had a small technical snafu. Good morning. Glad to see all of you are safe and healthy. We all know businesses are in a period of great economic uncertainty among the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, and money makes the world go round. Fulton Financial Corporation, where I am, also known as Fulton Bank, has come up and is offering assistance programs for the companies and businesses, both at the corporate, personal, and small business level. And these number of programs to support our clients are all available through either state bodies or federal bodies, and then some of our own programs which we have. They're available online if you go to our website. Fulton's brand is that it's personal, and it's not just words, it's about actions. And we understand the hardship our customers face with school closures and reduced business hours. And what we've done is provide different forms of assistance. I'll just give you two examples, like temporary forbearance on residential mortgages or even business loans, temporary deferrals for loan accounts and stuff like that. Fulton Bank also has funded more than $2 billion in loans to our clients through the SBA PPP program. And by participating in the PPP, we kind of helped save about 100,000 jobs in terms of employees for our businesses. And then We are also working as far as the pharma and healthcare sector is concerned, with the NGA, EDA, and SBA and other state and federal bodies to develop financial solutions for businesses with a specific client-centric approach and something which would kind of be aligned to your strategic goals. Our approach is tailored and is very customized because each company, based on the life cycle, is in a different mode and needs different things. Our deal structure is not product-based, and when we're able to deliver these efficiently, as you kind of discuss with us what your overall growth plans are, whether you are starting off or whether you are a mature company. And we offer a full range of working capital, organic growth, M&A, capital expenditure, those kind of loans, whether they're cash flow loans, asset-based, lines of credit, term loans, or you setting up a manufacturing unit or a packaging unit, and you need help with buying a manufacturing building or a place or equipment. In addition to that, we also get involved in helping you on the treasury management side, as well as your international banking side, as companies across India and the US kind of transgress the international borders. So that's my kind of short pitch. And I'll be more than happy to answer questions if you have follow-ups. You can, I think Harry, you're going to share contacts, or you can always reach out to Harry.
Yes. I'll send the email thereafter to everybody so that you have the contacts. And because what we are trying to do is to make everybody have one-to-one contact with the consulate office, myself, and any help you need in United States or India also, to have companies being helped for putting in either their companies or their collaborations or mergers, acquisitions, lobbying, anything. So I believe I do not know if they have solved their problem of getting registered, getting in. They're all registered. I've sent the registration again and again, but then they're unable to join us. But I'll now request my friend and media king, Professor Indrajit Saluja, who will introduce himself and will talk about what his take on COVID-19 is. Thank you.
Good day, everybody, and thank you, Harry, for having me at this wonderful webinar. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm so glad, that Professor Kanwaljit Singh Chopra, so fondly remembered Padma Shri Professor Harkishan Singh, whose stellar contribution in the field of pharmaceuticals will be remembered for a long time. In fact, if I describe the dear departed Professor Harkishan Singh ji as a man who really gave a big kickstart to research in pharmaceuticals at the Punjab University and in India, I would not be wrong. Having said that, it was such a wonderful experience, Harry, to have so many very well-informed, scholarly people here. And I was wondering that the subject that you said was the cooperation between India and US in this time of COVID. And I heard people talking a lot about what was being done by them. And it was so informative and so impressive. In fact, I would probably refer to one particular observation by Dr. Tilak Bharadwaj of Badi University. I think he was the one who was absolutely focused on what needs to be done with regard to promoting greater collaboration between India and US in the field of pharmaceutical manufacturing and distributing. I understand that Mr. Bharadwaj was so clear about the whole thing, the various steps, why US should invest in India in the pharmaceutical sector. What is US going to gain out of investment in pharmaceutical sector in India, and what India is going to gain, and how India can replace China. At the moment, China has an upper hand, though, but India can always replace China by being the best source for manufacturing and for supplying pharmaceuticals to the world, and more particularly the US. I see there is a lot of opportunity that COVID has provided, and given the fact that India is a large producer of generic and API drugs, I understand as a media person who, of course, it is your scholars, your professionals, your people in the research who feed us with information. We are only the carriers of that information to our readers. We only take their researches to the people to know more about what is going on in the medical research field. So having said that, I think it's a great initiative that you have taken, Harry. And this is, I think, the first of its kind. And I would urge you to just go forward with it. Let people know whatever great institutions, whatever great scientists, whatever great medical professionals, and what the manufacturing companies are doing in the field of pharmaceuticals. And also, if possible, take up other fields too. We need more information percolating down to the people. And I can assure you, Harry, my newspaper, the Indian Panorama, will always be there to carry the message whenever there is one of public welfare from any institution or any individual. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Indrajit ji. I'm happy Saranjit Singh ji could make it, and there was some glitch because of some emails. So when he gave another email, he could connect himself in. So welcome, Dr. Singh, and I will now give the floor to you to inform, or rather educate us all, what is NIPER doing and what is NIPER's researchers doing under the COVID influence.
Okay, thank you, Harry. I'm extremely sorry that I could not join from the very first start. And I don't know what the discussions has been going on. Still, I will try to put some of the slides. I don't know what time I will be able to take to finish those slides. So I'm going to share my screen. It is visible to all?
I believe. Yes. Yes.
Okay. I will just very briefly go to tell about what is NIPER. It's National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, SCS Nagar, where I am the founder faculty, rather the first person to join the institute. And this institute was established through vision and efforts of our esteemed professor, Harkishan Singh, who was a Padma Shri awardee, and unfortunately we lost him on 20th of March this year. He had been a living legend for pharma profession in India and a very reputed historian. To talk about NIPER, it's an institute of national importance. It's a first premier postgraduate institute dedicated solely to pharmaceutical research and education. We have a 140-acre green campus. Our faculty, I will say, they are gems and trained in the best laboratories in the world. The first student that we got was a master student in 1998, and we are just 22 years old. And we became an international brand within 10 years, and NIPER was the word had spread about NIPER all over the world. Our research and education is oriented toward drug discovery and development, and we have 10 departments dedicated to the whole life cycle of the drug. We have interdisciplinary approach to education, and one of the best class of infrastructure in India. And sometimes when we are discussing with the students our students who have joined foreign universities, they say that we have not seen even the infrastructure we have seen at NIPER at foreign universities. I will just brief about the national and international outreach of our institute. We had a capacity building project which was sponsored by World Bank, under which we had trained 3,000 professionals from the whole of the regulatory in India had been almost trained at NIPER. That was the first training program the regulators ever went. We have trained people from government labs and the private manufacturing and production staff and the laboratory staff. We are training for the last many years regulatory and laboratory staff. This is under Indian Technical Exchange Program. Sponsored by Ministry of External Affairs, where we train the staff from Commonwealth and African countries. So we are holding 4 programs every year, and our alumni is highly trained, and they are now spread throughout the world. They are in the academic institute in coveted positions. They are in industry in coveted positions, international and national industry both. So we are working very closely with Indian industry, and even we had projects which we had done mutually with international industry. And for Indian industry, almost we had done 1,000 projects. And the very purpose of this project is that they should be able to meet the stringent international regulatory requirements. And we also had Indo-US and Indo-EU sponsored projects running at NIPER. The faculty members have been associated with the World Organization like WHO, AAPS, American Association of Pharma Scientists, USP, and many have even coveted the fellowships. They are fellows of APS. We have a very active American Association of Pharma Scientists student chapter at the institute. With the successful branding of NIPER, 6 more NIPERs were planned out by Government of India, and they are working already, and they are admitting and passing out students at Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Raebareli, Hazipur, Kolkata, and Guwahati. So NIPER became a brand and it spread it out. And another reason was that the Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance had asked the government that we want 10 more NIPERs in the country if we have to run the drug discovery program. Although I know that the drug discovery program eventually became a little slower in the country. Now, to carry out the dream of Professor Harkishan Singh further, that he wanted that NIPER should be an institute like Harvard, we of course need to reinvent ourselves to focus on innovation and skill development. Of course, we have plenty of the patents, around 200 patents, but still we have to go more stronger in the innovation and skill development in line with, I will say, Vision 2030 of Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance. If I look into this document from Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance of the Indian pharmaceutical industry, the way forward, action needed to achieve Vision 2030, they very clearly mention of the creating anchor education institutions known for cutting edge research. Of course, we are doing cutting edge research, but they have a different model where, like Indian School of Business, where they have taken example how getting all key stakeholders together can create a thriving world-class institute. So a well-funded institute with the ability to attract global talent is critical to kickstart the cycle of innovation. Of course, we have less admission of global students, and we need to change a lot for achieving that status. Yes, there is a requirement for the research grants to be earmarked for pharmaceutical developments and increasing the number of pharma-focused educators to help renew the focus of new discoveries in this sector. This again has to be our focus. And again, that is the expand and upskill the talent pool. So this is where we will like to contribute more and more in future. Now, as far as the Augmenting US-India Healthcare Relations under COVID challenge, my personal take, it's a very personal. I have a disclaimer on that. It is nothing related to the institutional thought process. If you look into that over a 10-year period, 2009 to 2018, the US saved about $2 trillion through generic drugs. So foremost for us at this moment is rebuilding faith in quality of Indian generic drug production and giving that faith to whole of the world, citizenry as well as regulatory and government agencies and the policymakers. Now this book, Bottle of Lies from Catherine Eban, had really created an image that Indian industry is not producing quality drugs and there are issues. I don't deny that there are no issues 100% because such a large industry and with such a large manpower working, there can be some issues which might have been highlighted in this book. But I feel that COVID pandemic has helped Indian industry to regain the stature to a certain extent. This is the reason that Gilead wanted to tie up with Indian firms to produce remdesivir. Already you might have discussed about Serum Institute of India, which is the world's largest vaccine maker, was roamed in by Oxford Vaccine Group because of its quality and capacity. Now, what in the long term? Is it okay that we feel happy that the people from you means whether your president, Mr. Trump, or our Mr. Modi, so they are very happy that in the COVID times, India is in the limelight, the Indian pharmaceutical sector in the timeline, but it will not go a long way in the long term. So question is, when we are having expanding capacity requirements and stringent global emphasis on quality, our industry has to emulate new emerging technologies, some of which are even part of Industry 4. Now, these are the 30 technologies of next decade, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, and other blockchain, big data, automation, robots. So I will just highlight what are the immediate important for pharmaceutical sector. So first is automatic and robotic manufacturing. Already our plants are automatic, but we have still to see that most of Indian pharmaceutical sector and industry goes into the automated production and robotic production. Then this continuous manufacturing concept, which has been brought out, and which means that chemical intermediates prior to API go into closed loop. There is an in situ API production and tablets are out. This is something which can lead to a good quality production. And this Lawrence Yu from US FDA has also highlighted that continuous manufacturing has a strong impact on drug quality. This is something which the American institutes had tie up with industry like MIT, Novartis tie up. They have come out with a plant. So CPHI urges pharma manufacturers to invest in continuous manufacturing. If I read these two para, they are very important. CPHI predicts that all generic manufacturers CMOs will need to convert to continuous manufacturing facility in the next 10 years. The companies who have begun using continuous manufacturing had enjoyed overall success, making products faster and virtually no rejects. The movement from development to full-scale production, skipping the scale-up step as much as 6 months would bring the products to market faster. So if we have any future pandemic and India has to contribute, India, there's no way then going for continuous manufacturing. So this is one of the plants of Johnson & Johnson or Janssens, which is already in place, no human intervention, all automated, all the fluid mechanics working, solid, liquid, fluid mechanics. So then there's a lot of issue that is raised. Bottle of Lies also is talking of a lot of integrated issues. And I see blockchain technology, which is going to be disruptive innovation of blockchain and evolution of pharmaceutical ecosystem in data integrity and transparency. This is very, very important for Indian industry to wrap up, means I will say to depend upon the blockchain and implement blockchain. Then finally, for the whole manufacturing and supply chain, and from where the product has gone to whom it has gone, so Internet of Things is going to be hugely useful. So there's a need for impetus for industry to get above the basic GMP compliance to high-tech manufacturing so that quality is built into the product and not tested. Also, we institutes in academia need to rise to occasion and shall collaborate for training of students in high-tech emerging areas with leading international institutions using e-modes, which is a new way that we are also having a conference today through e-mode. So we should have e-learning. We should connect with the best of the world institutes, have the experts. Rather, the US government can encourage the professors in US, because like India has no information about how continuous manufacturing technology works. So of course, blockchain, IoT, there are a lot of contract houses which are working in these areas in India, in Gurgaon, full. I'll say a lot of the small units are there working in that area. But there is none who can teach and train and help us install the continuous manufacturing lines. So therefore, the country needs to establish centers of excellence in areas like viral drug research, where we don't have any institute talking of drug use in viral diseases. We have tuberculosis, leishmaniasis, malaria as our thrust area, but now we are planning to go into virus drug research also, and continuous manufacturing. So also, because whole of the industry wants the academia to work on basic deep science, mechanisms working in the body, how drugs work in the body, basic physiology of the body, mechanism of disease. So we have to go for innovation and deep scientific research to develop as thrust area for pharmaceutical institution in future. So thanks all. I pray for your safety and salute to COVID warriors. So nice of you.
Thank you so much, Singh Saab. But unfortunately, we could not add Professor Chatterjee today. And he was very enthusiastic of speaking out to all the participants. There had been some issue for his email, like Professor Singh had, so he had to send me another email on which he could join. But nevertheless, when we are coming to an end, we virtually enjoyed this first webinar. And this was just a startup for bringing on the forum some of the eminent individuals in this field of healthcare. And we'll try doing this kind of webinar every second month. The topics will be changing, the speakers will be changing, but the gist of entire webinar concept is to bring US-India relations better, strong, and fruitful. It should be for both the countries so that we can make India one of the biggest serving market in pharmaceuticals and healthcare. Because another field apart from pharmaceutical is medical devices, which needs utter importance of some new device manufacturers to have a merger or start their manufacturing in India, because India is presently importing majority of devices from abroad. What we are looking in for joint programs, like I'll request Professor Charles, we have to look in some kind of process where we can have a student exchange program in the field of medicine. The youth of India is going to be 60% in another decade or so. And all are highly educated and intellect, if I call, maybe superlative. What I'm looking in for that, like we have in some of the medical institutes or teaching medical colleges here in US, they have a program of exchange program with China. So half of the term of their 4 years or 5 years is in US and rest in China. And then they come and join as interns. So that kind of thing will be very, very fruitful, because when somebody has already done his medical studies in India, he comes to US, he again goes in for tests and the process. It takes a lot of time. So we want, one is the student exchange program. Two, the Ivy League institutes or Ivy League colleges or Ivy League medical centers and hospitals and colleges should also have a joint research programs where private-public partnerships could be done. I'll put an impetus on NIPER. I'll request the way Bharat Biotech has been doing single-handedly the research, and they had to come to University of Wisconsin. So we want our universities in India and in United States to have some kind of a marriage. Thoughts, exchange program, research, investment coming from the interested industrial people. And that is why we want to have this new discussion in our next webinar. I believe we should continue this kind of joint ventures, so that I don't think that travel will be now so common. at least not for 2020, but yes, we can have webinars and we can have discussion, more better discussion, presentations, and anybody has any suggestions, you can please email to me and we'll make a kind of, I'll request Inderjeet ji to please summarize this meeting, and then you being a media guy, you know how to extract the best from everybody and then put a publication onto it with a copy to all the gentlemen. I'll share the emails. And once again, thank you so much for sparing your valuable time today. I was a bit busy because my thought process was to make everybody come to Zoom. And I was very much during the entire session talking to Professor Singh and the gentleman, Professor Chatterjee, but still I couldn't make Dr. Chatterjee come in. So sorry, because my mind was working both sides. So over to you, Inderjeet ji, and thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harry. I think we have taken longer than we expected with this webinar, which has been a tremendous success. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to all the participants who spared their time. I know everybody, it's evening in India. People might be waiting for their dinner. And right here, people might be waiting for lunch in the US. So yeah, not taking long. I must say it has been a very, very satisfying experience with all the panelists who came up with such innovative and wonderful suggestions. And very rightly, I think that the crux of the entire discussion, I think, comes down to one observation, which you just now made, that universities in India and in the US have to collaborate with industry to come up with innovations, to come up with quality products in every field. We are talking about pharmaceuticals here. And going by what the panelists, if I were to summarize it, it would probably take a very, very long time because everybody made such wonderful suggestions and their observations, those who have been working in their respective fields for years together. For example, I was thinking of Dr. Charles, who is with the Harvard University, and he talked about what you call simulation. That's something that I saw recently in at Hyderabad, exactly, not in Hyderabad exactly, but it was somewhere near that in Andhra Pradesh. And that was my first experience. So I could immediately relate with what he was saying. That's a wonderful idea. I'm glad that he's thinking of setting up such institutes in India. India is always ready to receive innovative ideas, and we are very well on the way to becoming leaders in various fields. Already, I think if I again go back to my friend from Buddy University, who really impressed me, Mr. Tilak Bharadwaj, so kind of you to have pointed out why India is a proper place for the further growth of pharmaceutical industry, and why US should think of India, and if for that matter, any country in the world could think of investing in India in this pharmaceutical field. And very, very nicely pointed out that whether it is this is bulk drug API or generic drugs, all are being produced in a big way. 300, the pharmaceutical industries company. And you very rightly pointed out, Mr. Bharadwaj, strong manufacturing base. It could be cost effective here to manufacture drugs in India, and then established network of laboratories, and scientists are there, professionals are there, world-class environment is there, and strong marketing and distribution network is there, as you pointed out. I can see you here right on the screen. Thank you so much. And I think all these things, can do prompt for a collaboration between US and India. I say between US and India because I think it is the US that has to come to India, not that India has to come to US in this context. So Thank you so much, Mr. Bharadwaj. And Dr. Charles also has, of course, spoken very well about it. And then just now we heard Mr. Singh of NIPER. It was a very informative, description by him. And I believe NIPER is doing a very great work, and in years to come, with the vision that they have of Dr. Harkishan Singh Ji, almost the founder of pharmaceutical research in India, I should say. I believe this institute will be an institute of excellence, as great as any other in the world. And when Mr. Vivek started, he very nicely pointed out how India is leading in pharmaceutical industry. Of course, in the period of lockdown, much of clinical trials were hindered. Then, of course, the research work was hindered, and then, of course, the coronavirus took away the opportunity of treating the patients with normal diseases, somewhere in serious conditions, but then the beds were to be made available to coronavirus patients and all those things. So I think, and I should also mention Professor Kamaljeet Singh Ji of Punjab University. Of course, I am myself an alumni of Punjab University, and I have been academic council member for 4 years of that university. So that was the time when I knew most people. But I still have that fond affection, love for that great university. And I'm so glad that the university, as its tradition is of promoting excellence, is doing great work in the field of pharmaceuticals. And I think everybody else, if I fail to mention somebody, I'm so sorry, but this is what I would say in brief. I'm not summarizing it. I can't do justice to that kind of a big summary at the moment, because I realize we will certainly be doing the write-up, and with the help of Harry,
Yes.
we will be able to publish it soon and send a copy across to you all, friends. And with that, God bless you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay blessed. And Harry, thank you so much for having organized this wonderful webinar. And I look forward to working with you and with all our illustrious friends that I have met today. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Andaji. Thank you so much. And now, as we come to the end, I'll request all the speakers, the eminent personalities, to kindly share with me the email about your presentation. If you don't mind, slides or other things, so that we can keep a record of a webinar concept for the next one. And we can exchange your emails with your permissions with other speakers. And we would like to have, if anybody wants to talk to any of the speaker, I can connect you one-to-one. Either now, the visit doesn't seem close, but then yes, we can make arrangements of webinar or conferences, and we'll try doing this every second month on one subject or another. And any of the ideas, suggestions are most welcome. And with this word, anybody wants to talk amongst themselves or say, the floor is all. If you have work to go, you can go. But if you want to talk amongst yourself, you're open for that. And once again, thank you so much. And special thanks to all of you for remembering Papa. Thank you.
Thanks, Harry, for organizing it. So great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Harry. You're
Thank
very
you.
enthusiastic, very energetic, and very nicely organized. A very good thought process has come. I'm sure you will compile everything together, and it could be good input for both the India as well as US. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Baj. Thank you.
Thank you, Hariji.
Thank you. Thank you, Chopra ji. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Indrajit ji. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bhadwaj ji. Thank you, Singh Saab. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you,
Okay.
Kamji.
Thank you.
Thanks.